Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian show by Joyeeta Basu. Today I will speak on how issues like freedom, democracy, human rights that are part of the larger platform of values that the West so proudly boasts of will impact India-US relations in the incoming US presidency, be it Republican or Democrat. Now, one thing is certain, we have a fairly decent idea of how things will pan out because both the protagonists in this case are well known. First, if it is the Republicans, that is Donald Trump, there will be fewer pinpricks on these issues because for politicians, ultimately it is all about their domestic constituencies, and the Islamists and the Wahhabis that are working overtime against India in Washington, they do not vote Republican. Well, they might want to exercise some influence though. However, the Christian evangelists do, and that is an area where some pushback is happening from India, anti-conversion pushback. So we have to be very careful about that. As for the Democrats, the first question that needs to be asked is who the presidential candidate will be. Will it be Joe Biden? In fact, I would be more relaxed if it were him than maybe someone like Kamala Harris. Because of her background, she might be more loyal to America. Obviously, anyway, she has to be more loyal to America and may actually go out of the way to prove that she is going to make things difficult for India. Now, Biden understands the loony left and understands that they cannot be allowed to decide policy. And there are many loony lefties in his party. So in spite of the noises made against India's current government by the loonies, Biden keeps a tight leash on them. My worry is that Kamala Harris also is part of the loony left. She's a relatively unknown quantity. Frankly, she doesn't inspire confidence in me. You see, the minute we speak of freedom, democracy and human rights, the so-called Western values, a case is being made out of exclusivity, of being an evolved culture, which is problematic, especially for us with thousands of years of philosophy and learning to back us. Now, ironically, be it the US, be it any European nation, whichever side of the divide may be in power, these are more weapons than values. The US always weaponizes these values as and when it suits it, and particularly when it seeks compliance from a specific country. So all that moralizing about values-based foreign policy, which the Biden administration has made its calling card, is hypocritical. I mean, what sort of values does a person like Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon represent that the US has to protect him? Is the Pannoon case actually about protecting an American citizens? How many American citizens did the US abandon in Afghanistan when their soldiers left in a hurry when Kabul fell to the Taliban? Several. And all of them, as it happens, were of Afghan origin, not indigenous Americans or rather not white Americans. Now, when in Ukraine, the West says it is protecting democracy, what democracy is it speaking of? Since when did Zelensky, who locked up his whole opposition, become a great advertisement for democracy? It's all about, Ukraine is all about teaching Putin a lesson, overthrowing him. So-called values-based foreign policy is actually a cynical exercise of power. Now, I think the difference between the two administrations will be that the State Department may not get that much encouragement to prepare, if I can say it, extra nasty reports on India if Trump returns to power. I guess they will be busier being nasty to Trump. Now, jokes apart, I think this shrillness about freedom, democracy, muzzling of minorities has to a large extent to do with India's stance on the Russia-Ukraine war, apart from the fact that a section of the current administration, the ecosystem, identifies Mr. Modi with Mr. Trump. Additionally, they have a major problem with the right wing. Now, given that both Donald Trump and his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, think the Ukraine war is a wasteful expenditure, perhaps there will be less threatening noise coming from the US about India's Russia outreach if Trump returns to power. Now, it is generally the State Department and its echo chambers that are the source of all the nastiness towards India. Now, most of the people handling the India desk are young wokes coming from a university system that has gone radical left and rogue to a large extent. Now, if left on its own, the state would ride roughshod over India-US relations and run it aground. But much of this negativity of the state in the Biden administration in particular gets negated by the Department of Defense or at the level of the NSA or the National Security Council. Now, in a Trump administration, we expect less high horsing. If you have seen Jerry Vance speaking about US foreign policy, he says we should pursue a foreign policy, a diplomacy of respect, and a foreign policy that is not rooted in moralizing. However, how a Trump administration brings an unhinged state to shape, if at all, may turn out to be the biggest story of the next administration. We can expect some drama there. Amid all this, a few words about the lobbies and interests that are working overtime against India. Now, much of them funded by Pakistan, which by the way serves as a proxy to China. So yes, there is a Chinese hand in all this. USCIRF, which is the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom and is rabid on India, is hand in glove with such bodies. Also, there is a very strong evangelical lobby that is working against India. At the risk of sounding cynical, it is this group that we have to be more careful about if Trump comes to power. Add the Wahhabis to this and it makes for a deadly concoction. You see, the problem starts when these lobbies find people willing to lend them an ear, and there are many such in the left liberal ecosystem, and they will, I think, continue to be vocal. As I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of the pressure groups are decided by domestic constituencies, apart from media narratives and the like. So it's more like a big melting pot of interests and ideas that are often working at cross purposes. Ultimately, what will matter is how well we navigate these waters. Thank you for watching. Until the next time.